everyone, and welcome to the Savvy Cast. This is Jamie, and I'm so grateful that you're tuning in either on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. Today, I have a very beautiful young mom and wife who is going to share so many things that I think are going to be extremely helpful to all of you, but especially young mamas and young married. So I just want to welcome today Francie Outlaw to the Savvy Cast. Francie, thank you for being here.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, Francie, I just want to explain to everyone how I came to know you or have you on the podcast. I work with a lot of young marrieds, young women, and also have two daughters who know you. You are you have quite the following of young women. You have a lot of influence. You have a very powerful story and a very strong faith. And you are a must-have resource for anyone with small children. So we're going to get into all of that. I'm just thrilled that you're here. So I just want to jump in by asking the icebreaker question. What would you choose as your last meal?
Okay, it's funny you asked this because I'm a pretty picky eater. And so, okay, but if I had, oh man, there's so many things that I love. I would need a crab cake as an appetizer. And then I love a good pork tenderloin with mashed potatoes and like some roasted veggies, broccoli, carrots, squash. I make that for lunch a lot. And so I've shared with people that on my Instagram because it's just my favorite. So yeah, pork tenderloin, mashed potatoes, and some good roasted veggies.
Well, I was on your Instagram this morning and I highly plug your Instagram as well. It has everything, recipe. I saw some things I'm going to try.
Yes.
And so many resources. And I'm telling you, to be your age, you are way savvier than I ever was. And I'm just so glad that you're here to share. Francie, let's just go ahead and just start from the beginning. Tell us about your family now, and then we're going to get into really what brought you to the place you are today.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Birmingham, and my husband and I knew each other in high school, but we actually started dating in college. We went to the University of Alabama. And so we got married right after college, and I started teaching here local in Birmingham. I taught 5th grade, and we have 3 boys in our home. So they are currently now, Mills is 5, Sailor is 2.5, and then James is 8 months. And then we also have one baby boy who passed away. So he is in heaven. He will be, my 5-year-old reminded me that he turns 4 in October.
Oh, me. Well, I was on your website as well. And what beautiful, beautiful children. Beautiful. They got the best of both of you and your husband. So, and your hands are quite full, and
they are.
Boys have lots of energy.
Yes.
But you are certainly keeping them not only busy, but intellectually stimulated. But let's just go ahead and start, because you did tell me that you're very open about your story. And
yes,
I do remember when you were going through what you're about to share, and all eyes were on you and your family, and the way you walked through that was amazing and so inspirational. So just go ahead and share with everyone your story.
Yeah. I'll start with, I'm going to try not to get emotional. Grief is such a journey. And so our son, John Haven, was born in the fall of 2018. So we're about 3.5 years into our grief journey. And, that first year after a loss is so emotional. And then grief kind of comes in waves. And so we're living our life. We're in the trenches with these 3 young boys. And so, when we talk about his story, it brings up so much emotions just because that's the journey of grief. But when, so I was teaching 5th grade, and I always knew I wanted to be a mom. So we had our first son, and my husband is a dentist. So he was headed into his residency. He was like, I know you want to stay home, but I need you to, go back to work for 1 more year. And that year ended up being a blessing. I had, a brand new baby and went back to the classroom. And so towards the end of that year, we found out we were pregnant again. I think my baby was 9 months old. Mills was 9 months old. We found out we were pregnant. So excited. I wanted to be a mom. I was so thrilled that I was going to kind of wrap up that school year and just be this stay-at-home mom with 2 babies. And so it was the last day of the school year. I turned in my keys, or last day for teachers. I had turned in my keys and I was headed to get my anatomy scan. And so we go to the doctor, and we had such like a simple, easy, perfect pregnancy with my first baby. And they do this scan, and they're, pretty vague at the time, but we know something's wrong. And so we find out that our baby has an omphalocele, which means that, most of his major organs were in a sac outside of his body. And so we learned in that appointment that, that could be it. Like that's his only thing that we have to tackle, or it could be a genetic condition. So in the days to follow, we found out that our son, John Haven, has trisomy 18. Trisomy 18 is a genetic condition. It's where you have 3 chromosomes on your 18th. And so it's incompatible with life. That's what we're told. So we just go into, and we're entering into his pregnancy just so devastated. But what I tell everyone is, in that moment, we had a choice. We could drown in our devastation and just be so sad and mad at God. We could look at it as, okay, Lord, what do you want to do with this? And those were our only 2 choices. And we knew we didn't want to be devastated. We didn't want to, miss living life with our 1-year-old that was in our home. We wanted to enjoy our days with him. And so we just decided to rally and to trust God and to let him use our lives and our story. It's a lot easier to, I think, to say that looking back now, because we've seen all the Lord has done. We trust him more. But when we were in those trenches, we would just go on walks and just cry, because it was so hard. And any mama that's walking through infertility or child loss, like, I know that struggle, but I also know that we have a choice and that God is good in the midst of it. And so we learned a lot from his pregnancy, but I always like to remind people that I don't believe that God gives us those things because he's trying to teach us something. We live in a sinful world, and it's just, this is how life happens, but we can choose to let God work in the middle of those hard circumstances.
So Francie, you were how far into your pregnancy when you got the diagnosis?
18 weeks. It was our 18-week anatomy scan.
Okay. Is an anatomy, and I'm so much older than you are, I don't know, is that like an ultrasound?
Yes. So our first ultrasound with him was at about 9 weeks. We had another one at about probably 12 and then 15 every few weeks. I say that, I guess we just had one ultrasound at the 9 weeks, and then you're just checking for heart rate at your follow-ups. And so our 18, they're checking for development. So it's just a full scan of, they're looking at their heart, their spine, their brain, and they're just getting a good picture of this baby. It's also what most people look forward to, finding out the gender at that scan. And so, we're going into just wondering, like, are we having a boy or a girl, with no expectations that you might find out our baby's sick. And so the biggest gift that we really found was that I cherished my pregnancy with him. We would go golfing, and we were like, okay, John Haven, we're taking you golfing, or we're going to the beach. And like, this is our time at the beach with him, and just really treasuring that time that I carried him as our time with him as our son. We ended up carrying him to 38 weeks. And because of his omphalocele, we were going to try to deliver naturally. I had a very easy birth with my first, but he wasn't tolerating it. And our greatest prayer was that he would be born alive. Mm-hmm. And so we had a C-section with him. And so he lived with us for a couple hours. And we just got to spend some time with him in the hospital and we lit candles and blew him out and had balloons and really tried to celebrate his life and do things with him that we knew we wouldn't get to do.
So Francie, you knew most of the pregnancy that you say incompatible with life. Did you know that it was trisomy 18 at the beginning, or because I know you said said it could just be the physical?
Yes. So we did end up meeting with a maternal fetal medicine specialist and decided to have an amniocentesis to completely diagnose. Based off of our scan with that maternal fetal medicine doctor, he saw some other things that he was like, this is either, I think 13 and 18 were our 2 probables, but just kind of confirming it. And there was some peace in our hearts of just knowing exactly what we were looking at. So, yeah.
Is that from a statistical standpoint, how many people go through that with a child? Is that
I don't know the statistics on it. I do know one thing that we found out was that his specific one, our odds of having another child with his condition are the same as anybody else's, because it wasn't something that was our genes. There's different types of trisomy 18. And so the one that he had was not an inherited condition. It was just like something that happened in development. And so it was a gift for us to carry him to 38 weeks. I think, they were kind of like, this pregnancy could end at any point. We don't know how long you're going to carry him. And so that just felt like a gift to carry him longer.
So how did this affect your marriage during and then after?
I think it kind of goes back to the same thing where our relationship with the Lord, we were like, we have two choices. We can band together or we can be angry at each other. And it ended up being really good for our marriage. Walking through something hard together, it made us cherish our children even more. It made us treasure our days even more. We were very intentional with how we lived. And people are often surprised we never went to any type of counseling because we've always really had great communication. And that season really showed us like, okay, we really do communicate well. We were able to sit down and like talk everything out, which of course I will talk everything out. For a male, it can be a little bit harder, but I don't know. It was really cool to kind of be able to work through it together.
In addition to having a supportive husband, and I know you are from a very strong family, who else was really walking alongside y'all during this?
Yeah.
And what did they best serve you? Just for others, for in any situation there's grief involved. Yeah. What do you say to people? How do they help?
Something that was really great for me is I found other women who had been through similar things. So I went to coffee one time with a mom who had lost her daughter, and just to sit on the other side of the table and hear her story. And really, the internet can be a hard, bad place, but it led me to so many other women who had been through something similar. The trickiest part in grief is that I believe every grief is different. And so for the mom who had their baby and had no idea anything was wrong until delivery, that's different than me, who knew at 18 weeks and had 20 weeks while carrying the child to grieve. And so every pregnancy, every situation is going to be different. And just to like meet that mom with compassion, something that was good for me to hear was just someone saying, I'm so sorry. I cannot imagine. I'm praying for you and you are so strong. Hearing advice from other people, it kind of it hit hard. It wasn't really helpful to hear a comparison of like, okay, well, when this was going on with me, this is what helped me. You just want to feel validated. And I wish I could think of it. There's a book called Grieving the Child I Never Knew. It's a devotional that I went through after John Haven was born, and I recommend it to everyone. So if you're a friend of a mom who's lost a child, send her that book. It is just
that book in the show.
Yes.
Grieving the Child I Never Knew.
Never knew. Yes. It's a green, small little devotional. And it really just validates so many of the emotions that you have when you're grieving this baby that you don't get to really grow up and know. So yeah, it just being validated in your grief was always so much more helpful than someone trying to fix your problem. And I'm a 1 on the Enneagram. So I am a fixer. Like I want to, offer advice. And sometimes they just need someone to say, I'm so sorry. And I'm here for you. And to send a meal, to send a gift, to, champion you and, be proud of you for how you're handling it. And sometimes that's enough. So
Francie, in this climate of just the big debate about terminating life, I feel quite sure that most doctors would broach that subject. What would you say to someone maybe who already has or might face something like that, and then their doctor broaches that? What would you say to them?
So we were so blessed that no doctor that we met with ever even mentioned it. And that was such a gift for us, that it wasn't even, in our hearts, it wasn't an option.
Right.
But I can't imagine the mama bear that would have arisen in me had someone said that. And I did end up speaking with another mom who lived in a different state, whose doctor did mention that, and she didn't have like hard and fast boundaries. And so she wasn't sure what to do. And for us and our family, and everyone has to make this personal choice, but we believe that that life is just as valuable right then and later. And for us, we were praying for healing. Like we still believed at delivery, God, we could birth this baby and this baby could be perfect. Like you could totally heal this baby. And we believe in that power. And it was worth it. I have no regret carrying John Haven. Like he's our son. 2 hours was worth it to spend with him. So I think you have to take that option off the table of just, no matter what, this is a child of God and we're going to love this child for however long we have. And so that's where our time with John Haven became so special, that we could, take him to the beach and he was with us and he was safe. And I remember telling my husband, I would be pregnant with him forever if we could keep him. And that'll get me all emotional because, now we have 2 more boys in our home and we're so grateful for them. But the Lord just writes a beautiful story that we wouldn't have the family that we have unless we walked through what we walked through.
Well, the pictures, and I would encourage anyone watching or listening to go to your website, which I'm going to link to all of that. The pictures, the celebration,
yes,
beautiful.
And we celebrated him in a way that we haven't celebrated other children. We haven't had birth photographers with our other babies. And it's just, there's so many ways. I can mention more ways that we, try to cherish that time. We have a wind chime on our front porch that someone gave to us. And so that wind will come through, and I have friends that know that that's John Haven's wind chime. And it's just this reminder of him. That's a great gift for a mom who's lost a child.
Was there significance to the wind chime? Was that a gift?
I don't know. They just gave it as, a remembrance. It has his name and birthday engraved on it.
Oh, that is a wonderful. Okay. Yes. So they gave that to you as a remembrance gift.
Yes.
So every time the wind blows, you think, oh my goodness, that's
yes. So that was a very special gift. We've received ornaments for our tree with his birthday or picture. And he's just a part of our home. We actually have a painting on our wall that we bought when we were pregnant for him. We bought our piano when we were pregnant for him. So when our boys play on the piano, it's just a remembrance. And so there's just a lot of special things that we tried to do to preserve, who he is in our home.
Well, Francie, after you walked through that, and how long was it before you got pregnant?
8 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know. Oh boy. Okay.
Yes.
Were y'all planning that, or did that?
Well, we've, and this is one of those hard things in motherhood, especially nowadays. We know so many friends who do struggle with fertility, and that has not been one of our struggles. And there was some fear after we had him of just being like, I am not emotionally ready to have another baby. This is just, because I kind of felt like, I feel like as soon as we're ready to have, this is going to happen. Yeah. And it did. They ended up being 11 months apart. So our next baby was born the following September. So right at 11 months.
And another boy.
And then he was a C-section baby because we had John Haven as a C-section. And so medically, that's what they have to do. And so we were like, let's take a little bit of a break. And we had our next baby boy 2 years later. And I was able to actually deliver him, which was just such a blessing. That was like a big prayer answered. So,
that's amazing. I've had to have a C-section after my twins because I had VBAC, vaginal after can be risky, but wow,
that was something we prayed through the whole pregnancy. I was like, I know I can do this. I did it with my first. And so but then he ended up being 9 pounds. So I don't know that it was the best idea, but
oh my goodness. Okay. Well, they're all so adorable. Okay. So now take us to your life today as a young mama of 3 active little boys. And all these young moms out listening or watching, share some of what you've got because you've got a lot. I mean, you need a television show. I was never.
I don't have time.
Well, you're just giving it all away free on the internet, which is wonderful. But share with us some of the things that you, in addition to the recipes that are easy and that everyone would love. What are the things you're teaching your children colors and reading.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
share with us.
It's funny. Moms are so nice. They're like, hey, will you share your organization? And I'm like, I don't have time because I'm already sharing everything else.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess. Like I need some time to clean it up first. No, so it's funny, every story, I feel like it's always so intertwined. So when I had John Haven, my oldest was 18 months old, and I was a teacher. I'd been a 5th grade teacher, and I'd been home for about 6 months. And I just started having this itch for, worksheets and teaching and this formal, like sit down intentional learning, because that's what I had been doing for 4 years. And I had just spent the summer, at the park and the playground and doing all that kind of stuff. And I was like, my brain's kind of going to mush. I need to do something.
Yeah. So you love that kind of thing anyway. That's your wheelhouse.
Yes. I love it. Like education. I love it. And so I was on all over Pinterest and just, finding worksheets, printing different things that I saw. And, I was sitting on the couch recovering from a C-section. And so I was doing those things with my 18-month-old and started just kind of casually sharing them on Instagram. I think I had like 1,000 followers, and some sweet people were just like, wait, what's that? And I'm sending links to other people's work that I've printed and kind of doing a lot of work, sharing all of this. And finally I was like, wait, I can make my own. I know how to do this. And instead of pulling, this activity from this place and this activity from this place, I'm going to combine it all and I'm going to make it into what I actually love and approve of, and just started dreaming and brainstorming some different activities. And so I completed my first resource. It's the toddler learning resource that December. So I had the baby in October, John Haven in October. And in December, I sold my first toddler learning resource.
Oh, so you have for purchase as well.
I do.
Okay. Now, is that the book? I did see a book too. What's the name of it?
Yes. Okay. So I call it the toddler learning resource, mainly because at the time there was so much out there for ages 5 and up. So kindergarten and up, but there wasn't a lot on the market that I saw at the time for toddlers, for teaching colors, for teaching shapes, for expanding vocabulary. And so I took all these activities and put them into one book. Since that time, so it's been about 3.5 years, I've seen some more things on the market, but it's just so expensive. You might buy one book that's 10 pages long and there might be $40. And so what I've done is I sell a PDF online. The toddler learning resource is $15, but it's hundreds of pages. I wish I could tell you off the top of my head. I don't know how many, 200 or 300 pages of activities for moms. And then I use my website to walk through exactly how you could set it up. So people would love for me to set it up for them. I just don't have the margin to do that right now.
But you're laying everything out, and then you can also follow on your website and see you do it, and your Instagram. Francie, that is a steal, and that's such a valuable resource that most of us, especially the older ones, we didn't have that when we had our children.
Yes. And I'm experiencing the benefit of it as well now, because I set mine up when my first child was using it. And now I just pulled it off the shelf and it's ready to go for my next child. So it's reusable.
So do you recommend to the mamas who buy this, or the grandmothers? I mean, that'd be a great source for anyone who's with children. Do you recommend that they print it and bind it unless they're just... So
I pulled I don't have the toddler learning resource. This is my child's binder that he actually uses right now. And so we call it his learning folder. So since
Could you hold that up, Francie?
I will. This is Sailor's.
Oh my goodness.
Learning folder. But this is actually filled with pages from all the resources. The first one I made was the toddler learning. And then I went on to make one for numbers 0 through 10, numbers 11 through 20, the alphabet. And then one of my favorites is my biblical truths, because it is free. And so I think last check, we were at 9,300 downloads, which is just incredible because it's all free. And I just love getting that material into the hands of mamas. So it was kind of my tithe of my resources, was how I felt about that.
Oh, I love that. And is it biblical truths that the mothers teach, or the
Yes.
father teach to their children?
Yes.
Simplified, like verses and concepts.
Yes. There's 10 biblical truths. I mean, one's like, I can pray to God, or Jesus is the Son of God. Like, there's just different 10 truths we want to teach our kids. And then it kind of ends with some alphabet Bible verses. So like the A Bible verse is, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. Matthew 7:7-8. And my 2 and 5-year-old can repeat all these verses, and it's just incredible.
That is amazing. Francie, I'm sure you have a ton of homeschool parents who use this. And do you homeschool or
no? And I'm glad you asked that. I meant to mention this. No, we do not homeschool, and we're not planning to homeschool. Mm-hmm. But the teacher in me just really thinks that the parent should be the first teacher. Mm-hmm. And you know what's interesting is, I don't want moms to, which I shouldn't talk bad about my resources, but I don't want moms to buy this and think this is the ticket to their kid learning their colors. You know, they're going to be learning their colors in everyday life. When they're at the zoo with you and you notice the pink flamingo, like, there are real world experiences where our kids can learn all of these things. But there is just something really special about sitting at the counter with your kid, cheering them on, watching them grow, being proud of them. And you're just forming such a good relationship with them as you teach them. I want my kids to look at me and be like, my mom is so smart and she is awesome and she cheers me on and we're doing this together and this is fun. And it's more about this love of learning than being a smart kid. You know, it's way more than just
and that time together. And Francie, if someone has more than one child, would you recommend getting each one their own notebook, or can you reuse it?
You can reuse it. So I've had moms of twins ask about what to do with it. I would set up just one. There are some pages, and I'm not sure. This binder is mainly, I can kind of show you a piece. This is mainly all my laminated pages. So this would be a laminated page, and they're going to be matching the chicken. So there's Velcro.
Oh my, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
And so we start this at 18 months old. So at 18 months old, it's going to be something as simple as, you know, I'll show you.
That is.
Taylor, can you find where the pig goes? And they put it there. And eventually they're going to be able to say the word pig, or you can ask them, what does the pig say? And so you're building this vocabulary, but they think it's a game. They love it.
Okay. You are so savvy. That is the cutest, sweetest thing. And I know that is something that dads could easily use, because, you know, they really don't know as much as women about what to do or at what level. And that's a great resource for grandmothers, or to leave it with maybe the sitter when you're going on date night. Hey, do this puzzle with them or these exercises for 30 minutes. Then they can have playtime. I mean, it always, you can always have something to do where they're learning, where it's not just time, you know, playing. So what age does that go through, like your resources?
So my toddler learning resource, I recommend starting around 18 months. It is filled with colors, shapes, matching activities, and then patterns. And that pattern work is going to kind of go up into the 3-year-old range. So 18 months to about 3 or 4 is what I say for toddler learning resource. And then my numbers and alphabet ones are going to start around age 2 or 3.
Okay. And is that, how far do you go with your
So my 5-year-old really was done using my resources by about age 4.5. There's some handwriting work that can be done in the numbers and alphabet resources, but he really knew his numbers, counting, letter sounds, all of that by about 4. And so I actually switched into, there's so many resources for reading and kindergarten work, and I've never wanted to reinvent the wheel. So I am done creating resources. You know, my focus was on this toddler age. So up to age 5 is really kind of the kids that I'm looking at teaching. And then past that, I point parents in the direction of other resources that I love and that we use in our home as our kids get older.
Well, I think it's fabulous. Now tell us just a little bit about your recipes. What kind of recipes do you share, and why do you choose those? And just give us a few of your favorites.
Okay. So while teaching is my wheelhouse and like, this is my thing, cooking is not. I'm now following you for all the advice on cooking.
Oh my goodness. Well, that makes me really want to amp up my game.
Yes, I love it. I am looking for anything I share. It has to be something that's like the mom that's just busy. She's in the trenches with all her little kids. And, how can we keep our house clean? How can we get dinner on the table? How can we fuel our kids for the day? Like, how can we make life as simple as possible? I'm pretty minimalistic in general. And so, we just try to keep things pretty simple. So any recipes that I'm going to share, it's going to be something that I've personally found that we use, that we love, and that can be on the table in like 20 minutes. It needs to be quick. The least amount of dishes possible is great. I recently shared these smoothie bags that we'll make and stick them in the freezer. I love just kind of.
Oh, I saw that. See, my goodness. I meant to ask you the smoothie bags.
Yes.
Please tell us about that. That's something
I had so many sweet moms message and they were like, this is perfect because I work full time and I need, something that's quick and on the go. And so you prep these smoothie bags all at one time. You get all the mess, all the cutting boards, chop all your fruit, put them together. And then when you're ready for your smoothie, just stick it in the blender and blend it up and you're done. And your only dirty dish is your blender, which is amazing.
That and your boys all love them.
Love them. Yes. And we hide spinach in them so that they don't know they're getting some greens and they love them.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay. I love that. I mean, that it would apply to anyone, children or no, just having something that you could pull out and make a smoothie on the spot.
And our boys are good eaters. And so we just need to start young with, putting things in front of them. Like they don't think twice about eating broccoli. It's just part of dinner time. And so we don't make adult meals and kid meals. We all eat the same stuff. And so
you're a good mama and you're a good example. And I want to encourage you to keep this up and start a podcast, just put yourself out there because you and your spirit is so sweet and gentle and you're so humble. And I'm just very, very impressed. And I just hope everyone will check out your resources. And I would even say, my head is twirling, but I think your toddler resource would be a fabulous gift for anyone having a baby. So you could just download it, take it and get it laminated, get it bound, and maybe have you sign it if you're here in Birmingham and just give that with some of the maybe things that you recommend. I just think that's wonderful because I don't think there is a lot out there like that for that age group. But well, Francie, is there anything else that you would like to share about what you're doing or offering or anything you'd like to say to other young moms who maybe they just feel tired? They feel, oh my goodness, how am I going to get through this season? What would you like to say?
Part of my heart, like I said, I wasn't homeschooling. This is just for good, intentional learning. And so this time with our kids when they're little is so important. And so, your house is going to be messy. And some nights you're just going to have to pick up Chick-fil-A for dinner, but just to enjoy these years with your kids while they're young. And I hope that my resources are a way that moms can do that, to just sit at the counter and enjoy their kid. I'm not really the mom that loves to sit on the floor and play. That's just, I kind of get bored. And I know there's a lot of moms like that, but this is a way that I can connect with my kids. And so just in whatever area, whether you're, out on the driveway playing basketball with your kids, which my boys love to play basketball on the driveway, that you'll just cherish your time with them and not be so focused on the perfect meal on the table or a spotless house, but just enjoying them while they're little. So I have a long to-do list of what I would love to get done, but I'm going to need these kids to go to elementary school before I can tackle all of it.
Oh, that's awesome. And I do want to, before I let you go, and ask you, what are you going to do when they're all in school? What would you love to do?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about it. I'm not sure how I'm going to fill my time, but I think I will figure it out. So
that's when you can maybe start your podcast or show or whatever you just feel like you want to do to expand your.
Yeah, I share a lot on Instagram, but I'm trying to have more stuff land on francieoutlaw.com just because that's, where I pay for that page and hopefully it can live forever. So I'm trying to get more blog posts there. So people can always find me at francieoutlaw.com and of course on Instagram, but I'm trying to get more good, valuable content on the blog.
Yes. And I will link to your blog and your Instagram and all of the things that we've mentioned. We'll link to the book that you recommend. And everyone follow francieoutlaw.com, francieoutlaw.com, and your Instagram is
Francie Outlaw.
Francie Outlaw. I love your email. Hey, Francie.
Yes. Hey, francieoutlaw@gmail.com.
Okay. That's the cutest email I think I've ever heard.
Well, I feel like when you have to spell both your first and last name, you have to just keep it the same across the board.
Yes.
Everything is Francie Outlaw. So
Francie Outlaw, and it's FRANCIE and then OUTLAW.
That's it.
Francie, you are a gem and a jewel. Thank you for being on. Thank you for taking
so
time.
much for having me.
And you are welcome back anytime you have any new and wonderful things to share. So I hope you will always feel free to come back.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.